AskReddit by Inferno 2808. What is the clearest case of living in denial you've seen? Ex's mom moved to Vegas from Europe. Went broke gambling over 10 or so years. Practically homeless. Then she got injured on a casino escalator and was compensated more than fairly with a life-changing amount of money. Guess who went broke again? Pretty much exclusively at the same casino? The casino knew that compo money was coming right back. My mother, now deceased, refused to wear glasses because she hated how they looked on her. Instead, she insisted her eyesight was not that bad and the fact we had to read menus to her at restaurants was just a cute quirk. My stepdad once asked when are they going to put the letters on those big green signs while driving on the freeway. I've never gotten in a car with him since. He insists he was joking, but past evidence indicates that he wasn't. Little edit. For the record, I have reported him in the past. I haven't spoken to him in years, and live in a completely separate area of the world from him now, so I have no way of knowing if he still drives. I truly hope not. My dad has PSP dementia. My mom refused to acknowledge that it was a developing problem, because it was an inconvenience to their lifestyle. I confronted her, because he needed to have his driver's license taken away, because he was a danger on the road. My dad impulsively went out one day, bought a BMW without her present, and later drove it underneath a semi-truck. And shocker, that was when she realized he was unwell. I also had to find out through extended family about his accident, because she didn't want to give us the satisfaction of being right all along. This reminds me of when my brother was 13 and I warned my mother that he was showing signs of depression and anxiety. She told me I'm not dealing with that again. I was being treated for depression and anxiety at the time. My brother is almost 30 now and has barely left the house since he graduated high school. He doesn't do anything but play video games. Got a friend, he's in his 50s, makes next to minimum wage, drinks and eats too much. He and his GF, late 60s, live with a mutual friend. They are discussing adopting a child. Discussing. Makes me think they're talking about kidnapping some random kid off the street. Buddy keeps complaining that normal guys won't respond to him on dating apps and keeps getting hit on by creepy old dudes up, you're nearly 60, and those are age appropriate matches. I am 43 and I'm sort of friends but mostly colleagues with some guys my age but mostly older. They look their age or older. Nothing insulting, just it's less likely that guys have taken care of their skin, dress appropriately for their body types, etc. The amount of complaining they do about women that are too old for them is wild. I have a friend who's 50 this year and complained that 35-year-old women look too old. Another guy is nearly 50 and said he's finally ready to settle down and have kids and can't believe he can't find a 30-year-old willing to do the same with him. Almost all of them have 39 as the max age if they are on dating apps. And they grow more misogynist over time, but mostly sad and frustrated. Friend is an alcoholic and does cocaine nearly every day, binge drinking and doing coke till 7 AM. Gets winded standing up for too long, but he's fine and not going to die because he is skinny and got his liver enzyme checked and it was in the regular. Man, I only drink a bit and my liver enzymes are slightly elevated, the fuck. Friend diagnosed with diabetes 10 years ago, has needle phobia, so afraid of pricking his fingers to monitor his blood sugar so doesn't, and just eats healthy. Due to blood sugar fluctuations, gradually goes blind and kidney fails, 3.5 years on dialysis, then finally gets a kidney transplant. Home again with new kidney, is still afraid of pricking his fingers and decides he will manage his diabetes by eating healthy just like he did for the past 10 years. How did he qualify for a new kidney with self-care habits that bad? My friend has been talking to this man for 4.5 years. They've hung out maybe 5 times and they usually just hook up and he leaves. He only texts her at certain hours of the day because of his work schedule. He never plans dates for them, or when she does try to plan dates he bails. I constantly ask her why she keeps talking to him and if she really believes they could be something more than once in a while, if even that. Fuck buddies, and she said she just really likes him and wants to be with him. I wholeheartedly believe he has a whole wife and kids. Hilaria Baldwin's commitment to her fake Spanish accent, even after she was outed as having been born and raised in Boston with zero Spanish heritage. How you say, cucumber. My brother is married for the 4th time. My mother blames all his ex-wives. I keep pointing out her son is the common link to all the divorces. I know someone who just blew up his 2nd marriage in a spectacular way, but his family still blames the exes. I'm like, the fuck guys? Close friend with an opiate addiction and her husband who thought she needed morphine infusions for a variety of magically appearing painful ailments. I have an ailment. It's called not being insanely high on morphine. My loving, yet abusive and alcoholic father telling me that he has no problems to fix and that whatever trauma I think happened in my childhood is a product of my sick and twisted mind because he was nothing but good to me. If he thinks that, he's not loving. I know a guy who tested positive for HIV about 11 years ago. He pretended it didn't happen and did nothing about it. Today he is dying of AIDS. He's not even 40. So sad. Does that mean he also kept having sex and didn't even bother telling potential partners about his status? It's sad that someone would allow themselves to wither away like that, but if they were going around potentially spreading HIV/AIDS, that makes them a fucking monster. My sister wears flannel shirts and has really short hair and drives a Subaru and wears a battle axe necklace and has a pile of Sports Illustrated swimsuit editions and a lesbian pride flag in her room, and my mom still hasn't figured out she's gay. My mother was the opposite. She knew my sister is gay by putting together pieces of evidence that weren't actually there. Mom, with an aura of confidentiality, I think your sister is a lesbian. Me, why would you think that? Mom, well, she's a theater kid, yet the close friends she's made in college are all on the volleyball team. One of them must be a girlfriend. Me, is there anything other reason you think that, other than that theater kids don't hang out with volleyball players unless they're all lesbians? Mom, no, not really. A few months later, my sister tells me, don't tell mom, but I'm a lesbian. I am a teacher. I have so many parents in denial about their children's grades or behavior. I once had a kid headbutt me and break my nose. BC he couldn't go to recess right then and there, but he's an angel at home, where he's only ever playing on a tablet. I also have one parent in particular who has 4 children, and all of them have behavior problems, to the point of multiple suspensions or being made to move schools or teachers, and I have to wonder, after 4 children with issues, is it not possible you might be part of the problem? As a parent, I've never been able to understand the my children are perfect little angels thing when their kid clearly isn't. My kids have flaws, and I will certainly admit when they fuck up. My boys are good kids now, they are 16 and 13, but they haven't always been good. They've not necessarily been horrible, but if a teacher said they'd done something wrong, or had been difficult, I wouldn't say but they are perfect at home. BC they weren't lol. My mom's logic, it's not incest since you both were adopted. My brother is 6, 2 years older than me, and sexually molested me from the time I was 6 and until I was about 10. Yes, we are both from an orphanage, and were adopted 6, 2 years apart. While factually it is true it wasn't incest, the power dynamics absolutely were wrong. WTF, why did it matter if it was incest or not? Someone who has severe hearing loss but insists the reason he has to say what all the time is because everyone mumbles. Me, thinking I'll get in better shape and lose some weight while doing literally nothing to make it happen. As someone who turned 40 last year and had my doctor say you need to lose 30 pounds and stop drinking or you're going to die in your sleep, it put a fire on my ass, I started small with 15 minutes jogging and dug the old rowing machine I had in the garage out and set it up, but I made it a point to do it every day. That was the 1st of November. Now I'm 16 pounds down. I do 40 minutes rowing or an hour to an hour and a half biking every day, and take a fiber supplement, and really deciding to choose to not overeat. It's not going fast, but it is going, and I certainly look and feel better than I did 2 months ago. Had a friend who never held a job. Their parents paid for their cars for 6 years of college plus an apartment in a very expensive city. For 3 of those years they also built a artist studio for them. They were convinced that their family wasn't wealthy. My elderly friend who has fallen 4 times already, breaking 2 ribs once, a wrist once, and bruised up the other times. He still refuses to use a cane out of some male pride thing. He can't understand that we all age, and if he keeps falling he will end up with a broken hip and bedridden and miserable. We had to give my stubborn AF grandpa a super cool hiking stick to overcome that hump. Probably my BF's mother. They live in squalor, have totally ruined their house by neglecting all responsibilities for 20 plus years, won't allow anyone into it because it's so dirty. The property is full of junked cars, poison ivy and stray trash. She brags about their great house, how much money they have, so then pay your personal property taxes which are overdue 5 years, which won't happen because they eat out for every meal since the kitchen is out of order. She's an alcoholic and completely dependent on weed. Where is it that you can be behind on property taxes for 5 years? Where I live you get 3 max before the house gets put up for sale due to tax arrears. Even then they would need to pay back taxes in full plus interest. My mom has been a smoker for 40 years. She was diagnosed with COPD. Good news is she can spend $400 a month on an inhaler that makes her feel better. No need to give up smoking, clearly. My dad got COPD from 40 years smoking. Eventually stopped, thankfully, but still will come up with random conspiracy theories about why his lungs are fucked, on oxygen 24/7 now. Things like the area I lived in for a couple years as a student was polluted. My mom was complaining about a sister-in-law of her niece who went back to a man that encourages her drug use and physically abuses her. My mom kept calling her so stupid and seemed so much like I can't believe she is doing this, when she was with my father who was also a drug dealer and he physically abused her. She also have a few other relationships with that same dynamic. Like, did you forget who you were? I would have pointed it out to her but it was Christmas and I wasn't in the mood to kill my own vibe. All the non-profits that I've worked for that are supposed to help low-income people, and most of the people working there are also low-income people. My mom, there are no gay people in India. Her wondering why one of her friend's son is not interested in meeting any girls and me explaining that he's gay. Someone needs to introduce this woman to the guy from Tofu who tried to say he was gay to get out of an arranged marriage and his parents just put together a binder of eligible young Indian men instead.